completely unaware, because he didn't have the cognitive understanding to grasp what was going on. And so we had a news blackout in the house. So no, he had absolutely no idea, which is, was one of the blessings of his dementia.
The family have felt absolutely 100% behind him all the way.
Yeah.
You were personally obviously very loyal. You looked after him in his last days. I wonder whether at any point in that you have had your own doubts or questions, or whether you have thought at any stage, did he abuse children in his past?
No, absolutely not, because we have the evidence about how he couldn't have done it. We know. So it's not a sort of blind loyalty because he was a wonderful dad. It just wasn't like that. It's the facts. We have, hard evidence which is starting to emerge. There are investigative journalists who've done some fantastic discovery work, and we know that he cannot have committed those grievous offences.
I mean, let's focus on one case, which is actually the one I think in which most of the evidence has been accumulated and talked about. And it's an interesting one because obviously the facts aren't in dispute. Your father befriended the boy. He was a teenager. He was in a children's home. And he saw quite a lot of your father, and your father wrote to him love Greville letters. So there's no question about the relationship. And then this boy said it was a sexual relationship. Do at the very least you ever think to yourself, was that a bit weird, that relationship?
It's just not strange for somebody of Dad's generation or for our family. My grandparents, Dad's parents, had an open house during the war, so anyone could come and stay with them. They we're a family who has a sort of a history of rescuing people, and Dad was fired up with a sense of social justice, and he was just really committed to helping people whose lives were just so much harder. And because we have such a loving family, I think Dad really felt for people who didn't have a family at all and were stuck in a children's home. And so it seemed at the time completely not even courageous. Looking back, you think, God, that was sort of naive, risky, courageous. But at the time, it just seemed like the right thing to do. And of course, we knew the young man.
Because he came to the house.
Yeah, he came and stayed. Yeah. So it seemed absolutely the right thing to do.
One of the facts, and I think it's disputed, is whether or not your father spent the night alone with this chap over some periods. He claims he was at the Holiday Inn in Leicester and with your father, and went to Scotland. The Scottish case has been looked at, hasn't it? And that was thrown out.
Yes,
that was dismissed.
Yes.
I mean, are you convinced there were no points at which your father actually spent the night with this complainant?
I've absolutely no idea, but if he did, it would have been entirely sort of innocent, naive. And obviously, we now regret that he put himself in a position where he was open to accusation, but it was done out of just deep goodness.
What do you think of the process now? We've got a country that has obviously become greatly more concerned about these issues than it used to be. Justice Lowell Goddard is leading an inquiry into child abuse. And your father is one stream of this inquiry. What do you make of that process?
It's an outrage. It's an absolute outrage. The other 12 strands are all institutions, big institutions, the NHS, the church, and there's one strand on one individual who was never convicted, and at the time of this round of accusations had severe dementia, so couldn't defend himself, and is now dead. It doesn't contain within it the possibility of justice. It goes against everything that the British believe in. There's not the possibility of the other side of the story being heard. It's, the people making the accusations word against a corpse. It just doesn't work. It cannot be just. It cannot be right.
What about the number of, the numbers and the persistence of cases and, if you like, chatter around your father?
Well, it's been well described by other people who've been through false accusations, and they've come out the other end and been completely sort of vindicated, and they describe the bandwagon effect, that actually if you're in a situation where you can make such a serious allegation about someone and be automatically believed, frankly, you don't have a lot to lose.
Justice Lowell Goddard is presumably an intelligent and bright person, and a bit world-wise, and who will make judgments about the evidence and isn't just going to hear it all in a completely naive way and just write it down and say, here's what happened. I mean, presumably, this is now the first time someone is going to, in public, sit down and pronounce in a kind of an objective way, listening to all sides of the argument, isn't it?
All sides of the argument. How can it be all sides of the argument with Dad dead? And also, the individuals can't be cross-examined because it's not adversarial. People are being automatically believed. So anyone can come forward and say, this person did this to me, this person did that to me, or, Marion Janner did this to me, and will be automatically believed. So the process it's grotesque and Kafkaesque.
Marion Janner, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.